Welcome to this episode of Hanging in My Tree, the case of the mysterious woman. A Year 6 elementary school project contained a picture. The label on the picture was Great, Great, Great Grandma Mason, the Reverend's mother. She was the first to come to Australia from Scotland. The assignment was written by 12-year-old me, presumably with details provided by my grandparents, Roy Keith Lang and Isabel May Lang Buchan. Unfortunately, this is just a photocopy of original photo, and I don't know where the original photo is, so I can't check the back of the photograph. However, there are some clues. On the bottom right-hand corner of the photo, the frame says 37 Park Street, Sydney. What I know that the Reverend is James Buchan, born 1848 in Fraserburgh, Aberdeenshire, died 11 July 1921 in Sydney, Australia. He was a Reverend of the Congregational Church. He was the grandfather of Isabel Lang. Surely this will be easy to find. So the Reverend's mother was Elizabeth Buchan, maiden name Duthie. Problem number 1, she doesn't have a first, second or surname of Mason. Problem number 2, she was born on 15 September 1809 in Rathen, Aberdeenshire, Scotland, and as far as I'm aware, she died in 1869 in Scotland. There is no indication she remarried. Problem number 3, I don't have any other photographs of Elizabeth Buchan. Okay, time to look at this from another angle. Perhaps another second great-grandfather was a reverend, or perhaps me or my grandparents got our facts wrong. Let's see if there's someone in my tree by the name of Mason. My tree didn't have anyone by the name of Mason. It's time to get some expert help. I contacted my aunt, the daughter of Isabel and Roy, to see if she recognised the lady in the photograph. I gave her the facts as I knew them. My aunt didn't recognise the lady in the photograph, but noted that the lady looked like her grandmother, May Howard. So given the family resemblance, maybe the lady was one of May, or Elizabeth May Buchan, maiden name Howard's, grandparents. They were Elizabeth Howard and Catherine Munsey. The suspects. Elizabeth M. Howard, maiden name Searle. I knew she was born in England, as was her husband Henry Howard. There was no indication where Elizabeth died and nothing to suggest she came to Australia. I couldn't rule her out yet. I needed to know a little bit more. Catherine Munsey, maiden name Wareham, sometimes referred to as Washam. She lived and died in England, and her photos don't resemble our mysterious lady. We need to widen the suspect pool. Who were my other third great-grandmothers? There was Hannah Lang, nee Waller, Voller or Muller. Isabella Florence, maiden name Dougal. Christiane Sharman, maiden name Hench. Jane Farquhar, maiden name Dougal. And Margaret Jack, maiden name Munro. Ruling out the suspects. The mysterious lady in the photograph was said to have come from Scotland to Australia. That rules out Hannah Lang. She was born in Germany before immigrating to Australia. And Christina Sharman. She was born in Prussia before immigrating to Australia. So that leaves Isabella Florence, Jane Farquhar and Margaret Jack. Isabella Florence did immigrate from Scotland to Australia. She died in South Australia in 1873. I don't have any photographs of her, and I don't know a lot about her children yet. However, as far as I'm aware, she doesn't have any children who are reverends, so she can't be ruled out. Jane Farquhar. Jane also travelled from Scotland to Australia. According to the records I have, none of her children were reverends, but I have a number of photographs of her, and they bear no resemblance to our mystery lady. Margaret Jack. She did live in Scotland, but she was also buried and died in Scotland, and there is one photograph of her, and it does not resemble our mysterious lady. What about other wives of my third great-grandfathers? Alexander Florence's first wife was Amelia Florence, maiden name MacArthur. She did come from Scotland and died in Fullerton, South Australia, so I can't rule her out either. Well, I was stumped, but not giving up. I had some suspects, but no credible leads. Then my DNA results came back. Little did I know that the DNA results would crack the case, just not in the way that I thought. My DNA results gave me over 10,000 matches, which is a lot more chances to find the identity of the mysterious woman. But there were still no Masons in the family tree. So I've been slowly contacting some of my DNA matches, and some of those matches contacted me back. One of the matches who contacted me back was the lovely Lynn Davis. I'd shown her a photograph and she indicated the name Grandma Mason rang a vague bell. Lynn checked her records and she told me a story that she'd heard from Dorothy Howard, the granddaughter of Alice Howard. Remember her? She was the grandmother of the lady who bore a family resemblance to the mysterious woman. Lynn had been told that our mystery Grandma Mason was Alexander Howard's widowed mother, who came to Australia and married William Mason on 7 January 1892 at St Paul's Church, Sydney. William was from Ireland. So Alexander Howard's mother was Elizabeth M. Howard. Lynn didn't know if Elizabeth met William in the UK, travelled with him or met him in Australia. She knew that most of the Howard family had arrived in Sydney from London on the Nan Shear on the 31st of December 1892. This was a promising lead, finally, and it warranted further investigation. Elizabeth was in fact my third great-grandmother. It sounded like she was the first of her family to come to Australia. She wasn't the mother of the Reverend, but she was on my grandmother's side of the family, which was the same side. My records about Elizabeth were scant, but after a bit of digging and a lot of extra help from Lynn, we were able to confirm. There is a registration of birth index of an Elizabeth Searle in Camberwell, England in 1839. There is a census report from 1851 that shows Richard Searle, Mary Ann, Elizabeth, John and James Searle residing at 13 Lower Mesder, Surrey, in the parish of Morden. There is a certificate of marriage dated 30 April 1858 between Henry Howard and Elizabeth Searle. There is a passenger list that tells us the ship, the Nan Shear SS, travelled from London on the 26th of October 1893 for 60 days to Fremantle, Albany, Sydney and Newcastle. The group was bound for Sydney, Australia. That Alex Howard, a Carmen aged 30 years of age, Alice, 28 years, Ethel, 5 years, Horace, 3 years, and May, 1 year, were all on the same ticket as a Mary Searle, aged 60 years. Could Mary Searle be Elizabeth M. Howard, previously Searle, with a wrongly recorded name? Probably not. One, because of the information that I later discovered, but also in 1893, Elizabeth was only 53 years of age. Elizabeth did have a sister, Mary Searle, who was only in her 40s in 1893 and stayed in England all of her life. Elizabeth's mother was also Mary Searle, but she was in her late 70s by that time and reportedly died in England also. I suspect that the Mary Searle who travelled with the Howards, Alexander, Alice and their children, may have been an aunt of Alexander, but I can't prove that. There is a New South Wales marriage certificate dated 7 January 1892 at St Paul's Church in Sydney. This is almost 2 years before Elizabeth's son, Alexander, and his family arrived in Australia. The groom was William Mason, a bachelor from Ireland, a clerk. He married Elizabeth Howard, a widow from Surrey, England. Elizabeth's parents in the marriage certificate were reported as Richard Searle, a farmer, and Mary Clark. William's parents were noted to be John and Anne Mason, with Anne's maiden name being Conway. So we have a third great-grandmother. We have a Grandma Mason. She is the first of her family to arrive in Australia. She was from Scotland? No, but she was from Surrey, England. She was not the mother of the Reverend, but she was on the right side of the tree. She was the grandmother of May Howard, who my aunt saw the family resemblance. I am satisfied that we have discovered the identity of our mystery woman. Elizabeth M. Searle, who became Elizabeth Howard, and finally Elizabeth Mason. So now that we have a name to the mystery woman, what became of her after she came to Australia? Whilst I cannot be 100% certain, it appears that Elizabeth's husband, William Mason, may have died in 1894, perhaps only a few months after Elizabeth's son and his family arrived in Australia. The only record that I can find in the New South Wales birth, deaths and marriages for a William Mason dying appears to have occurred in 1894. A William Mason with parents John and Anne passed away. I checked Trove, which is a site that collates old newspaper articles. There was a family notice for a William Mason dying on the 22nd of May 1894 at his residence, 24 Regent Street in the city. Dearly beloved husband of E. Mason and the son of the late John Mason from Kittyclow Island. That all matches up with the information we had about William. If we have the right death notice, William had a brother, F.C. Mason, an MP of Melbourne. F.C. Mason was, in fact, Francis Conway Mason. You'll remember hearing the name Conway before in the marriage certificate between Elizabeth and William. That was William's mother's maiden name. Francis Conway Mason was born in County Fermanagh in Ireland and immigrated to Australia at age 22 years of age. It may be confirmation bias, but I think we have William's death notice. As an aside, Francis, William's brother, was a member for South Gippsland in the Victorian Legislative Assembly and a Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. Earlier in his career, he'd been a magistrate in New Zealand and Victoria, and in 1907 he was a special magistrate in the Children's Court Acts. Okay, so back to our now not so mysterious woman, Elizabeth. Elizabeth travelled to Australia at a date unknown. I cannot find any records of her travel. She married William in January 1892. Her son and his family arrived in Australia on the 31st of December 1893. Her husband died on the 22nd of May 1894. There are no clear records that I can locate in the newspapers or census that I can specifically relate back to Elizabeth. I found a record in New South Wales birth deaths and marriages for an Elizabeth Mason with parents Richard and Mary A., who died in 1904. It was the only record that matched Elizabeth's details over the possible span of her life. There was a death notice in the newspaper that didn't tell us much, only that she had resided in Parramatta and that she was to be buried in April 1904. If I have the right death details, Elizabeth lived around 10 years after her second husband William died. She would have seen her grandson Percy, who was born in Sydney, Australia. There is one other photo of an Elizabeth Searle that someone has posted on Ancestry attached to Grandma Mason. The person who has posted this has also posted a photograph of Elizabeth's sister, Mary Ann Searle. I've tried to connect with the person who posted these photos, but have not heard back. The photo is very grainy. Could it be the same lady? The photo is cropped from a photo labelled Elizabeth Betsy Todd, with daughters Elizabeth and Caroline outside the family shot. Despite being tagged on Grandma Mason's profile, the facts just don't match. So who is the woman in this photo? Now, that's a mystery for another day and for another person to determine. Thank you for watching this episode of Hanging in My Tree with the Mysterious Woman. This video is created for family history purposes. It contains direct quotes and information from the internet. You'll find more videos like this at the YouTube channel Hanging in My Tree.